After some of the things that happened to me over there, if we're ever having lunch and I suddenly drop my glass and grab the table with both hands till my knuckles turn white and stare with my teeth clenched, it's because I hear the voices. The voices that won't let me forget the days when the name on my uniform said Greaseman, Ellie, but everybody knew me as Sergeant Fury. Pine Tree, 1967. We were sitting around base HQ. Not much happening. We were just listening to the sounds of our own sweat. But something was in the air. I could almost smell it. The men were writing letters. Some guys were playing solitaire. Kalachecki was doing a crossword puzzle. Yeah? He looked up at me. He said, Sarge, what's an 8-letter word for on the way? I said, let me think. 8-letter word for on the way. Incoming! When Wozniewski steps out of the head and starts running towards us. Just for laughs, I yelled, hey, Wozniewski, did you remember to wipe? I couldn't believe it. He goes running back. I said, no, Wozniewski, come back here, watch out. He runs inside and slams the door. I couldn't believe it there. But I was preoccupied myself trying to return fire, trying to direct men there. All right, let's get that 88 working, but crying out loud. Then Wozniewski comes out of the head again there. I said, hey, Wozniewski, do you remember to wash your hands there? And he turns, I said, no, I'm only kidding. Get down, Wozniewski. Well, I had enough of this. The enemy had position on us. They had surprise, but they didn't have the one thing that we provided ourselves with, raw marine guts. I said, I ain't lying here any longer. Let's bring the war to the enemy! So I looked around and I grabbed the Jeep. I ran across it. I hopped into that thing. And I drove right at the enemy. They opened up with everything they had. I was down on the floorboards. My fist pressed to the accelerator. Glass breaking all around me. I broke across their lines and I got behind them, man. I got behind them. That's when I jumped out of the Jeep and got behind the machine gun that was mounted there. Opened up on them! I streaked the light from one end to the other. They were completely helpless. I was behind them. The black pajamas were dancing there. Sandals were flying out. I just cut them down. Then I stood there, trembling. I was wounded in 3 places. Still giving orders, though. My men slowly emerged from their foxholes. I said, how many enemy KIA we got? They looked around and said, looks like about 45. I said, all right, well, drag them and bag them. Make a report to division headquarters. Then I collapsed. Next thing I knew, I was in a chopper headed for a hospital. That's where I met that sweet nurse. Never forget her, Mrs. Lydecker. She was married to someone who wasn't going to be going home. She was sweet. My wounds healed quickly. And I asked her out. She said, no, I don't think I can. I don't think I'm ready. We had a pool going to see who'd be the first to savor the sweet bliss that Mrs. Lydecker had to offer. One day I finally said, look, let's go for a walk. You can go for a walk, right? So we walked, and I led her on a serpentine path through the bush, pointing out native foliage and indigenous birds. All of a sudden, I threw her to the ground and jumped out and watch it! Grab some real estate, Mrs. Lydecker! It's an enemy artillery barrage! I mean, mud was flying there. She was trembling in my arms. She said, should we get up and run for it? I said, no, that's even worse. If you're on your feet when one of those babies blows, it's like, put your head down. I buried her face into my chest. I said, this may be our last chance at bliss. Oh, God, let me hold you. Let me hold you. And sure enough, as the fire rained around us, melted in my arms, and there, in that hostile jungle, she was mine. Oh, it was sweet, finally the artillery stopped and we smoked Camel. She said, I can't believe we didn't get hit. I can't believe we didn't get hit. I just looked at her, smiled, and I said, well, that's because we're about 15 yards beyond the practice artillery range.